Good morning, Pippadot. Good morning, everyone. Please stop and like this edition of Page 2 News and have a weekend. You as well, Pippadot. Glad that you're here with us this morning. Hope you had a great week. Yeah, I hope Kitty Coo and everybody else is able to stay warm because it's cold as you know what here. I got an extra space heater going in here right now. Good morning, Gemma. Welcome to this morning's Page 2 News. Yeah, even with the heating system for my studio, wasn't able to keep up the temperature this morning, so I had to bring in an extra space heater. That's what you hear in the background. Morning, Kevin Brand and Kitty Coo. Kevin Brand from South Carolina. I hope the weather there is treating you well. It is 16 degrees here where I am. 16 degrees right now. And we have a weather alert for possible freezing rain today. Yay. We shall see. Kevin Brand's is going to be up to 65 next week, where he is in South Carolina. I think next week their temperatures are going to be here in lows 20s, highs mid 30s, maybe 40 next week. Heat wave. Where Pippadot is, it's 29 degrees. 29 is better than 16, so there's that. But this is normally the coldest time of the year for where I live. It's always that way, end of January, 1st of February, always the coldest. It's 35 here, so at this point, it feels like summer. We got a storm here called Storm Ewan. Good morning, Gayla. Good morning. With 50 to 60 mile an hour winds and rains, wow, that's a hell of a storm, Gemma. 50 to 60 mile an hour winds. We occasionally get wind storms like that, but nothing like that. Oh yeah, we're definitely cold here. We haven't had zero snow this year. I mean, but that's not a rarity for us. It's just the temperatures just drop because we get the cold air that comes in from Alaska, and Canada that comes down the state, and we're in between the Cascades and the Rocky Mountains, so it acts like a funnel right towards us. So all that cold air stays in at the ground level, and it just freezes everything. Lasting until next week. Wow. Well, I hope you're able to stay safe, Gemma. Stay indoors. Stay away from the winds. Don't need you blown away. Give it another 30 seconds here. We're going to get this going. They put us underneath an amber weather warning. They have an amber weather warning there. That's something I've never heard of. I've heard of amber alerts, and we're gonna have one here this morning that I want everybody to pay attention to. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this morning's page 2 news. Now with extra glee and no AI. Huh? That's what everybody wanted, apparently, with no AI. All right. This is the 240th episode of Page 2 News. Amber Alert. Amber Alert here in America is announced when a child under the age of 17 has been taken without their either by a non-parental parent or somebody who wasn't supposed to have access to the child. This little boy, who is age 3, Chandler Baker, was taken by Samantha Castenda. If you see him anywhere, and it could be anywhere in the United States, most likely in the southwest part of the United States, but they could be anywhere. Law enforcement is not saying how she got access to Chandler Baker. As far as we do know, Chandler Baker does. This is not his biological mother. It is not a step parent, but law enforcement is not saying how that she actually got a hold of Chandler Baker. Again, this is the only photo that they are releasing, official photo they are releasing. There have been some news stations out of Texas and New Mexico that have released additional photos, but the boy has lighter brown hair in those, so it's kind of misleading because this photo that you see here was taken shortly before and at a school function, like a daycare school function. So that is the most accurate, most recent photo. So again, dark brown hair. He is 3 years of age. So if you are anywhere in America, in the Southwest, California included, keep an eye out for Chandler Baker and Samantha Casenda. And if you do see them, don't call any other local law enforcement agencies. Just dial 911. And this Amber Alert was put out by the Center for Missing and Exploited Children, along with local law enforcement nationwide. This is a nationwide manhunt for this child and for her. All right, with that said, I got that out of the way, and please pay attention to it if you see them. This is Page 2 News, highlights true crime stories that are often overlooked and underreported by mainstream media. These cases, while lacking sensational headlines, carry significant importance and profound impacts in their communities. Each story featured in Page 2 News is supported by at least 3 verified sources, ensuring the most accurate and reliable information. Thank you for joining us, and enjoy today's Page 2 News. Check out the new and improved condensed version of Page 2 News, now with handy links right next to each story, because who has time to search for them elsewhere? Stay informed without the hassle. First one, just because we never learned our lesson, it just keeps happening. Yet another school shooting happened since the last time we did this coverage, Page 2 News. And the condensed article there from People Magazine online, if you are seeing this afterward, you can actually go and look at, click on the link, and go to it. But again, we had another school shooting. 2 were killed, including the shooter, and dozens more were hurt. How many school shootings is it going to take before people wake up and realize, what's going on and put a stop to it? Would it be 50? Would it be 100? 250? 300? 350? How about 778? Would that be a good number to finally say, what, enough is enough, and put a stop to this? And I'm not talking about, hey, let's put forth, no guns in America like Australia. I'm talking about common sense, law enforcement, and actually putting a stop to these things. There's a lot that can be done that is not being done. And in case you're wondering about 778, that's how many school shootings in general that have happened on school property in the last 5 years. 778. How many of our children in the next generation do we have to lose before we say, enough is enough? You can have the Second Amendment, you can own guns, but goddamn, you better take care of them and protect them and keep them out of the hands of those who want to use them for purposes like this. I am a stout supporter of the Second Amendment. You goddamn, you ain't taking my guns, and you're not restricting my rights. But I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that my son or his friends or anyone else, can't get a hold of them and use them for nefarious purposes. That's just a simple thing to do. Excuse me. Next story: 7 San Antonio officers were shot. 2 officers were just dispatched to a suicide welfare check. It turned out that it was a setup to get officers to respond. As officers arrived, the assailant opened fire. More officers arrived, more were shot. This is the story from NBC News that you can actually read more about it. They actually have a term for this. It's called suicide by cop, where people will purposely invoke the officers to respond, and then they want to be shot and killed by an officer. Sometimes they actually do it where they know that they're going to be videotaped, and maybe they can get a nice settlement for their family, or they just don't care at all and they want the cops to die because they want to die and they're too much of a chicken shit to do it themselves. But suicide by cop, it's a real thing. But 7 San Antonio officers were shot while responding to a welfare check this past week. Breaker truck stop killer Bruce Mendenhall, age 73, has been convicted of a 3rd murder. The murder of Pura in 2007. Mendenhall is already serving the life sentence, 2 life sentences, with no chance of parole for murdering 2 other women in Tennessee. The article this one's from NBC, but there is a nice deep dive that you might be able to find on the internet. I don't know who actually put it out, but they were speaking to a former detective with the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, and they believe that Bruce Mendenhall may actually be connected to as many as 10 additional murders. But right now, he's been convicted of his 3rd. Again, doing life without the possibility of parole for the 2 that now he's got another life sentence on top of it all. But this is in the state of Tennessee. He's been convicted now of his 3rd. They called him the truck stop killer. Liar, liar, pants on fire. The Italian court upholds the charges Amanda Knox defamed her former boss, even though they already ruled that they had violated her human rights, and the charges were dropped in the murder of her roommate. But this is, again, the short link for the condensed article from People magazine. Amanda Knox. Do we all remember Amanda and just how much of a railroad she got? Were these actual defaming of her former boss, the owner and operator of the bar that she worked at there in Italy? After 52 hours of nonstop interrogation on Amanda, on the 51st hour, because again, you have to understand that Amanda Knox knew Italian. She spoke and wrote some Italian, but was learning. She was learning it as she went, while she was there. So she didn't understand all the nuances of the language or what they were actually grilling her about. But on the 51st hour, when they brought up her boss, and she said, well, maybe he did it. Maybe he was the one that killed my roommate. And that omission was, believed to be defaming of her boss. He was arrested and he was incarcerated for 2 weeks while they went full tilt on him instead. But not even 10 hours later, after she said that, she wrote out a 4-page, letter, not a confession, but a 4-page letter that, taking back anything that she said about her former boss. But it didn't stop the police from, going in on him anyways and keeping him in jail for, I think it was 2 weeks total. But the court there now, it's not like here in America, but they're in Italy. They've now have ruled that, and this is the high court there in Italy, has ruled that she is liable for defaming of her boss. And they can file criminal charges against her for doing it, and she could be open to having to pay restitution to her boss for what the overzealous police department did in this investigation, because they bumbled the whole thing. Everything from the time that they came to investigate the crime scene, to take statements from those who may be witnesses or nearby. They screwed the whole thing up. And Amanda was, obviously the scapegoat because, well, she lived with her, and they tried to make it out to be something that it totally did, and then it wasn't. Snapped like a twig, Terry Ogle, age 79, has been arrested and charged with murder after he attacked his wife with a hammer and killed her. He admitted that there was some abuse in the past, but he just snapped and did this time for no reason. They weren't arguing. They weren't having a fight or any kind of disagreement at all on the day that this occurred. According to his further statement, the hammer was in the kitchen on the counter. He picked it up, walked into the other room, and just started striking her in the head with a hammer for no reason at all. He could not explain why he did it. Well, he's 79 years old, but he's been charged with murder. He will go to prison and he will die. It's pretty much a slam dunk case because he admitted to it, the entire thing. But you can go to Fox News Channel 8 and read the entire article if you wish to. Wrong way, idiot. If this one doesn't get your blood boiling, I don't know what will. Vincent Ian Acosta, age 27, will spend the next 22 years. That is not an error, just 22 years behind bars for a drunk driving accident that killed all 3 of these women. That is a pure injustice. 22 years. These roommates were going to go see the sunset over the Grand Canyon when Vincent Ian Acosta was driving the wrong way on the freeway, blitzed out of his effing mind and hit them head on and killed all 3 of them. And the plea agreement that he took, he will serve was sentenced to 22 years. He can be out in as short as 17 years with good time. And if he keeps his nose clean behind bars, he could be out in 17 years for taking 3 lives. All 3 of these women had family, friends, siblings, and had bright futures ahead of them. And this idiot decided to go out partying and went the wrong way on the freeway and killed all 3 of them. The link there is from the Sacramento Bee, which is the most informed article of the 7 or 8 of them that I read. Quite a few of them skip over the details of he was going the wrong direction on a freeway. I don't know how you missed that detail, but they did. A lot of them. They just said that he was a head-on collision. Well, like you would think that you'd want to put in the article, he was going the wrong way on the freeway. But they skip over it, but the Sacramento Bee doesn't. Next. Would you like a side of drugs with your meal tonight? Ross Umbrich, the founder of the Silk Road, the online website on the dark web, was one of those that received a complete pardon from Trump. if you're not familiar with the dark web and the Silk Road, as it was, nicknamed, I guess you've either been living underneath a rock or you haven't been paying attention. So let me explain to you what the Silk Road was all about. The Silk Road on the dark web was a place that you could go to buy piles of methamphetamines. How about a whole, suitcase full of heroin? Or maybe you wanted to make your own fentanyl in Mexico, but you needed the ship from China. You could go on the dark web on the Silk Road's website and buy these things to make the drugs. Maybe you wanted to make your own Oxycontin in the hills of West Virginia. You could go on the Silk Road and buy this stuff. On top of that, he also allowed people to be hired for a hired gun. Yes, you could go on the Silk Road website on the dark web and hire a hitman. Maybe Gary over there, your third husband, sitting in the damn chair, who's a pile of shit, and you don't want to divorce him, you just want him to suffer. Maybe you just decided to go to the Silk Road and hire someone for $5,000 to make it look like an accident that Gary is no longer here anymore. You could go to the Silk Road and you could do all that and a whole lot more on the dark web. And the dark web was one of the websites that, the Silk Road in particular, was one of the websites that Josh Duggar actually visited to download his snuff films. If you don't know what a snuff film is, let's just put it this way. It is a video that it shows the torture of a minor or an adult in very graphic detail. And at the end of the video, that individual is killed. Josh Duggar went there and downloaded it and paid for it with cryptocurrency. But this man has now been pardoned by Trump. He is free to go back on the internet and do whatever he wants. His initial sentence had the stipulation that once released from prison, he was not to have any access or start any websites on the internet or on the dark web. Well, now with a complete pardon, he's eligible to do whatever the hell he wants. And in the coming weeks, he will receive all of his constitutional rights back. The right to vote, carry firearms, do everything, as if nothing ever took place. It's a great time to live in America. Next, more shoes have been found washed up on the beaches of California, Oregon, and Washington. There's a lot of theories out there but none of them have ever been 100% confirmed. That is why these tennis shoes are washing up. Some believe that they're being washed up, from sailors who went overboard, and the shoes are light, so they float in the water and they get washed ashore. Others think that there was a graveyard that got flooded in Japan during the tsunami. Over there, not in Japan, but but there's a lot of different theories of how these shoes keep on ending up here. Some of them have had bones in them still from their feet of the individuals who were wearing the shoes, and others are just void of anything, shoelaces or anything. Like the picture on the bottom is void of all the shoelaces. Where these shoes are coming from, nobody really knows, and there hasn't been one definitive answer. This is where they're all coming from, and so on. There's a lot of speculation, but there is no link to it because there are varying stories out there, and each one will try to come up with an answer of where these shoes may be coming from. But in the month of January of 2025, an additional 12 more shoes were found on the coast of the west coast of the Pacific, California, Oregon, and Washington. Serial killer corner connection. You will die to get away. East Bay serial killer David Bish is sentenced to life in prison for the killing of two best friends in 1986. As they read off the sentence to him that he was to be, sentenced and go do a life in prison without the possibility of parole, he sat there singing the song, 99 bottles of beer on the wall, 99 bottles of beer, and then laughed out loud while the court read the actual sentencing to him. You can go to the Mercury News, the link there to actually, read more about it. But he just doesn't care at all. There was not an ounce of, his attorney tried to, get him to shut up, but he wouldn't stop. And finally, they they handcuffed him and took him out of the courtroom for being disruptive. But he was there long enough to start singing 99 bottles of beer on the wall over, in counting down, in case you don't know how it works. Starts off at 99 and you go all the way down to 0. Harmless self-promotion. Since I don't have any affiliate links until this thing with Honey and everything works out, I don't have any affiliate links to push you, and don't have any products to lie to you and tell you they're great. Hey, why don't you buy a bunch of AG1? I'll never use that stuff. It sucks. But I don't have anything to lie to you about. So how about you just make a donation anyways to PayPal? You don't have to, but you can to help support this channel. Entertainment news. These are news stories from music, movies, books, and more that the stars wish didn't happen and you would also forget. They're oops moments for everyone to enjoy. Beautiful people. Marilyn Manson will not be charged in a slew of criminal charges after all. He was facing criminal charges of sexual abuse, domestic violence, amongst other things. First off, the actual statute of limitations for most of it had run out years ago. It wasn't just now, but years ago that the statute of limitations for some of the supposed crimes took place. And when it came to domestic violence against his former girlfriend, she changed her own story on the day, the time, the location to law enforcement 4 times in the first month after she reported it to the police. That did not help. I am by no means am I saying it didn't happen. She just kept on changing the story of when it happened, where it happened, how it happened, the entire thing. But all the charges have been tossed out. You can read the article on Rolling Stone magazine underneath the music section online. So this link will bring you to the actual article, but if you're on Rolling Stone's website, you can actually go click at the top, music, and scroll down, and you'll see Marilyn Manson there and a picture of him, and you click on the link there, and they'll take you to this article that way as well. Next. Okay, this time it's not him, it's us. Prince Harry received his settlement that is believed to be in 8 figures, 10 to 12 million. A lot of places have said that it's 12 million. Some have said it's 10. Some have said it's 11. Some have said it's 15. But it's actually believed to be more in the line between 10 and 12 million. For information leaked about him, invasion of his privacy, and slander. There are 8 million stories covering this, so there is no link. I mean, you name it. I actually found an article talking about this online, the edition for the Gazette. It's the Indiana Gazette, and there are 1,200 people who possibly could receive the Indiana Gazette, and they covered it on their online edition. But yeah, whatever, gets 10, 12 million. He doesn't need the money. hopefully he'll just give it to charity, like some have said he's going to. Fake or real news? Your job is to spot the real news story. I will present you with 3 stories. Only one of them is real. Answer either A, B, C. Which one is real? You used to answer 1, 2, or 3, but now we're going to go with A, B, or C. Which one is real? It's the only thing we need to pick out. Story A. Thousands of people lined up to take a sniff of the bloom of the corpse flower, which reportedly smells like teenage boys, gym socks. The flower blooms only once every 7 years. 19,400 people have paid money to line up and smell this disgusting flower, to take a sniff of it. Is this the real story, or is this one of the fake stories? Story number 2, deadly as night. The last 20 known night bloom plants have been stolen from a private collection. The plant does not reproduce by seeds. It reproduces via the root system. There is a male and a female plant, and they must be put into the same pot together. And this is one of the flowers of the night bloom. Is this the real story, or is this one of the fake stories? Story number C. Kurla water lily, known to grow in only one tiny island, is no more. The last known plant was knocked off its base by a 10-year-old, and the plant was not discovered until days later. It is now dead. Thank you very much to Tommy for killing the last of the Kurla water lilies. I will give you a couple of minutes to think about your choices. Each story, real or a deep fake, has been shared online a minimum of 100,000 times and has a minimum of 10,000 likes or upvote. So which one is the real story? A, B, or C? A, B, or C? And good morning, Susan Weaver. Sorry I didn't say hello earlier. A, B, C, or C? Which one is the real story? Pippa Dot's going with B. A, I think, is the real one. Everybody's going with A, B, or C. Which one is real? Gayla's going with A as well. All right. The real story is story A. Number 1 is the real story. It's 100% verified by 3 independent news sources. 19,400 people now, over the course of the time that they've had this flower there at in what do you call it, an arborarium, but have stopped in, paid money to go to the damn place in the first place just to smell and see this disgusting plant. Again, it only blooms once every 7 years. But this year they crossed over the line of 19,000. But 19,400 people as of this past week had paid to see this thing. Now, I'm told that it does have a pretty significant bloom, and the smell itself comes from itself rotting. As soon as it blooms open and you see the flower itself, it starts to rot, and that is where the smell comes from. But people have compared it, to stinky, teenage boy gym socks. I don't know what that smells like, but it sounds pretty disgusting to me. 13 news stories is what you just saw, and half of the time, 35 minutes exactly. Were you not entertained? I hope you were. Half of the time that it normally was. Tomorrow, Sunday night's trivia, again, is Douglas Kretzler, along with his accomplice. I should have told everyone this before. It's Douglas Kretzler, the psycho serial killer, along with his accomplice in murder, Steelman, Steelman, Steelman. But the trivia tomorrow night is about both of them. So you'll notice that this is a blank one on purpose here, that everything is now in a black frame and smaller in detail, so it shows up better on mobile and on tablets and other devices. I've done this on purpose, so like here where it says 13 news stories in half the time, it shows up better against the background, regardless what device you're on. But so I've changed it so it's like this, additionally. And that's it. That is all 13 news stories, not counting the Amber Alert. I think we really just want to see it bloom, but the smell is bad. Part of getting to see it, LOL. I guess so, Kitty Coo. But no, C is not. The other two, B and C, are not real. The flowers are real. They are rare flowers. That the one, the water lily, is a rare water lily that only grows off of the coast of one small, tiny island, and in the Pacific Rim. The other one is a flower that grows in the tropics. It grows everywhere. It's kind of like a weed. There's so much of it, but it is, in retrospect, they can't get it to grow anywhere else. They've tried pollinating it elsewhere, but it won't grow anywhere else. There's just something about the perfect, amount of rain and heat and humidity for it. And it's easier to see with that background. You like it? Good. I'm glad you like it. Good. We were working with different backgrounds to see how they showed up on mobile on a cell phone, because there are some people who do watch this show on a mobile like cell phone, and then we tried to, some of them showed up really good on a cell phone, but looked a little weird on depending upon horizontal or vertical on a tablet. So I'm trying to find a background, and this will probably stick with this background for here on out for page 2 news. The white background with black lettering. A lot of people, where it had the green on the corners. Some people said that it was harsh to see, and especially if you use dark mode on your device. They saw shadows, so that was the reason why we initially looked into changing it. You'd hate it to be a little Tommy. Yeah, it happens though. Kids do the damnedest things. Sometimes they make mistakes like that, knock things over, break them. I was at a store once, and I saw a little kid. He had a little toy truck, and his mom was looking at televisions, and he took that toy and chucked it right at one of the display models of the TV, destroyed it. She picked up the toy and gave it back to him, and then just walked off as if nothing happened. And I was just like, Your kid just broke that TV. That's an $1,100 TV. And you're just going to pretend like nothing happened? That's, it happens though. Oh. So what else is going on in the world, ladies and gentlemen? Smoke them if you got them. I am a firm believer, Kitty Q, that there are a lot of people out there in this world who have children who never should have. Just because you can reproduce doesn't mean you should. And unfortunately, I've met some of the most awful people in this world who do have children and are currently making the next, crime wave in America because they don't know and they don't care. What it boils down to is they don't know any better and they don't care at all. Don't care to know any better. They just do whatever they want. I know a lady that from the day that her child was born, and she brought the child home from the hospital. She started giving that child Mountain Dew the day it came home from the hospital, because not that she couldn't produce breast milk or couldn't buy formula, she just didn't care. Giving the baby Mountain Dew. To me, that's abuse. Your oldest ruined a TV once. She had a Barbie that came with a magnetic wand. She thought it was magic because it turned the TV rainbow colors, and it was our TV though. These things happen. I mean, the kid probably doesn't know any better. That little kid, I saw in the store who did, threw that, that truck at the TV. The mom obviously knew. I mean, it was clear as day that what he did, destroyed the TV. She wasn't going to pay for it. She just picked up his toy and then wheel on. And she looked right at it and then looked at me. And I was like, oh, great. You're one of those. Besides California being on fire, not much going on. It's winter and I have roses blooming all over my yard. Very strange. Well, I've noticed that my tulips are starting to come up. Oh, they're only about probably about 2 inches, inch and a half, up out of the ground right now. It's been a weird, year. We've gotten more rain in 2024 than we normally do, and we never got a deep frost, that would slow, these things down. I have potted plants on my front porch that the HOA approves of, that they still have flowers on them. Instead of them dying back each year because of the weather, the cold, they're still flowers in each and every one of them. It's just like, what the hell plant is in there, and how is it able to survive this? I'm freezing my butt kiss off, and these flowers are like, hey, look, sunlight, yay, we'll live through this. Mountain Dew, that's insane. My kids aren't even allowed to have that now. Good grief, people suck. Yeah. Yeah, she eventually got her child. What did they? She got some kind of like Social Security disability for the child. There's nothing wrong with the child, except for the child's been addicted to freaking caffeine since it was a baby. And I guess she knew what she's doing. She's never worked a day in her life, and she's just a giant piece of shit. I'm sorry, but that is the truth. But she did it. She knew how to play the system. Lived in this house for like 23 years, and those roses have always bloomed in April until this year. Huh. I don't have. I wish I had rose bushes. I don't have any rose bushes. I've got well, see, we're first off, we're not allowed to have certain plants in the front of our house or on the side of our house that can be seen from the road because HOA rules. You can have roses; they are on the approved list, but I just don't have any roses. I've got lilacs. Got two lilac bushes. Um, I got tulips, and then I have I can't remember what it's called, but they're like onions, but they bloom and they have like the purple little flowers on them, but you can't eat them. Um, but there's some kind of like hybrid, but they bloom and then they're a purple, bright, brilliant purple, and then they die off and then they bloom again and then they have a yellow bloom on them. So they bloom twice a year, the same plant. Good morning, Tina. Welcome to this morning's Page Two News. I hope you had a terrific weekend, a week prior. Yeah, but I constantly get in trouble from the city about trimming the hedges that are overgrown and blocking the sidewalk. I don't have any hedges that are near the sidewalk. Nobody in our community has hedges near the sidewalk. But the city sent me like a letter a couple of years ago saying that I had hedges that were impeding pedestrian walkway. So I said, well, send me a picture. I'd like to see it. And their response was, "Are the people who work in the code enforcement don't make mistakes?" And I'm like, it's against the HOA rules to have a hedge near the sidewalk. There isn't a single house in this entire development that has a hedge near the sidewalk. And I'm like, okay. So I went to the hearing and I'm like, show me a picture. And they're like, oh, we threw this out. And I'm like, yeah, I bet you did because you didn't think I'd show up. You thought you were going to be able to fine me $25 for this because you know where I actually live and you know it's against the HOA rules. So, and then a couple years later, they sent me another letter, but this time it was for tree limbs. I don't have a tree in the front yard that's anywhere within like 25 yards of the damn sidewalk. But they're like, you have limbs that are overhanging the sidewalk. I'm like, what house are you looking at? You gotta love the city sometimes, though. If I had anything like that at all, I'd get a letter pinned to my door from the HOA in a heartbeat. They'd be on me like there's no tomorrow. I'd walk out my door to get into my truck, and they'd be standing right there at the end of my driveway. That's how much of a stickler our HOA is when it comes to the yards and everything else. I mean, they're not like a nightmare HOA, but they definitely have their rules. Like this studio, all of this is was done, and they have no idea because you can't see it from the outside of what this used to be a garage. I have two of them, one on each side of the property. But this one, we built all of these walls and everything off site and then put them in the back of my friend's pickup truck and brought them here and then assembled them all inside of here. They don't know it, but from the outside, it just looks like a garage that nobody seems to park cars in. But I'd get in trouble if they knew. They did probably give me some nasty letter for changing a structure or something without notification. You won't live in an HOA community. We take care of our landscaping in home either way. Very chilly there, so you didn't want to get up. Well, Tina, I understand that. But I mean, there are you hear stories about nightmare HOAs, Gala. I mean, for what we pay, for our fees and everything else per year, I think they do a pretty good job. At least my HOA does. The only problems we've ever had with them is they have a time frame. You can put up decorations for the holidays, but you have certain days you can start putting them up, and they have to come down by a certain day. That's ridiculous. What if that day that that you have to take them down falls on a Tuesday, or a Thursday, and you were planning on doing it on Friday? Oh, no, no. You will get a $10 fine for having them up past that day. But I mean, they keep the streets clean. The community rec center that we have, and the pool, it goes to all the HOA fees go to take care of that. I mean, and in a nutshell, I mean, I have no real beef with them, with my HOA. I mean, again, there are ones out there that are just absolutely horrible. I don't think I'd ever run for, to be on the board of the HOA, but I could. I just don't have the time for it. Vintage art. Good morning. Good morning to you, Vintage Art. Welcome to this morning's Page 2 News. The news recap show has already wrapped up, but if you want to watch it and rewind, you can. And that goes for anybody. You can always watch it and rewind. Now, I mean, I think we've been here now. See, my son is 8, so we've been here just a little less than 6 years. And in that 6 years, the only problems I've ever had with our HOA, besides the decorations, is you're not allowed to put any kind of like sign, on your door, or they call it signage, but underneath signage, you can't put like a doormat in front of your house that says "F off," you're not welcome here, or you can't put one that it says "welcome" unless it's from an approved list, and those approved lists are pretty lengthy. It's not like you have to buy one particular one. That it has to be as wide as the door. It has to be either square, or it has to be oval. There are certain rules like that, and then they give you a list of places where you can go to get one. And Amazon is on there, along with a whole bunch of other local places you can get them. But when we moved in, we already had a doormat. But apparently the doormat we had wasn't on the approved list. That, and they can't see it from the street. You can't see it really unless you open up the storm door on the front of the house. But my wife has a door knocker, for knocking on the door. But it's the Kraken, like monster that's on the door. You can't see it because of the way that the storm door is. But once you open up the storm door, you see it on the actual door. But they've never complained about it. But I'm sure that's on the unapproved list. Can you park your car in the driveway? Yes, we can. I can have as many as 5 vehicles in the driveway. I can have 2 cars in the driveway. 2 cars because I live like not on a corner, but it's like the turn of the cul-de-sac area. But I can have 2 cars on the street, one in front of the house and one on the side. And then I have 2 garages. One garage only has my truck in it, my 1971 Ford F100 that I'm restoring. That's the only thing that's in that garage, because it's on a rotisserie. So I'm doing a ground up restoration on it, which I need to get back to. I haven't worked on it much in the last year. But anyways, but we have 2 driveways, and I can park 2 here, and 2 on the street. So that's 6, plus whatever the hell goes inside of the garage. They don't have a huge issue with that. It's leaving vehicles. If you park it on the street, it has to have a license. It has to have proper tabs on it. And you have to have the sticker in the window that shows that you are the homeowner and that you have this vehicle. And those stickers that go in the windshield, it's like a registration for the homeowners, society, group that we live in. You can stop at the gate at the front, like office, I guess you'd call it. It's not really an office. It's more like a small little building as you come in, where the guard is. But you stop there and you can get a sticker. If your friends are coming to visit, it doesn't matter. It's vehicles that are parked for an extended period of time on the street. If you don't have that sticker and it's in your driveway, that's okay. It's just parking on the street itself. Uh, couldn't park your car in your front of your house, or in the driveway. No flags either. Well, we have a. I got in trouble for my flagpole, but we can hang flags, but my flagpole definitely. I got in trouble for that because I put it next to. We have, so here's the front of our house here, and then away from it where the sidewalk is, I have a flagpole that's next to a light because you need a light for the flag. And I put the flagpole there, and they're like, "You can't put that there without being approved. You need to fill out those paperwork." But they don't. They've pretty much. That was like 5 years ago, something like that. They had an issue with it. They don't have an issue with it now. I got pretty much a good board of directors. People who are on the homeowners association. I don't have to do anything for my yard. Vintage art. I don't have to mow it. I don't have to seed it, weed it, nothing. My front and side yard, they take care of it all. The home that's part of the. Oh, sorry, that's part of the things that the HOA takes care of. Everybody's front yard and their side yards, that in areas that is viewable to the street, is all taken care of by the HOA. Just like the same time with if we have snow, they do snow removal. We have to do the sidewalk from our front door out to the street, but they'll do the main sidewalks and they do the street and they do the parking lots and everything else. Because you can park also at the clubhouse if you're like maybe you're having a gathering and you have more vehicles than normal. But see, for the colors of the houses, yeah, if my wife could, she would paint the entire damn house purple. And that's not a joke. She would paint the roof purple if she could, or find purple shingles. No way of being told what you can't do with your property. Yeah, we knew exactly what we were getting into when we before we ever bought the house. They were pretty much up front, and everybody in this community knows it. I mean, we don't live in actual town, so the town's here. All right, let's imagine a square here. We're actually here. There's like a nothing in between the town and where we live. There was supposed to be, but they never built the other developments in between to connect them all. And the area, I know it sounds like that, oh, you're a rich, tidy individual. We're not. We are nowhere near rich. We are eking by in society in life right now. But this entire community was originally built for scientists and engineers and those who worked on the atomic bomb and building the atomic bomb the two that eventually got dropped on Japan. But it was part of the Manhattan Project where I live. But that's where all these houses are, and they're all in this little community by themselves with nothing around us at all. You go 5 more miles out, and then you actually end up on government property that is restricted. You go the other direction towards town, the first thing you get to is like a 7-Eleven. Like, yay. But there's nothing in between except for desert. But there are streets that go everywhere. And they all have names and they have curbs and sidewalks, but there's nothing there. Just a whole bunch of nothingness. When I was in Vegas, the HOAs didn't do anything. Homeowners had to maintain everything. If you didn't, you'd get a lien on your home after one notice. They were terrible. That would suck. I remember back in the Manhattan Project days. Yeah, and a lot of it, what we do now, they don't. All the nuclear reactors and stuff like that are pretty much gone from here. There's like two left, but there used to be a lot more. Now it's legacy cleanup. We are a super fund site. If they hired like a million people to work out there to clean it all up, it would take a couple hundred years to clean up what they did in the span of like 50 years, and it was terrible. They did a lot of shit, and didn't know any better. A lot of stuff they just shoved into giant underground tanks and dug giant holes in the ground and just pushed things in it and then pushed dirt over the top of it. So it's going to take an awful long time. But a lot of the economy here has switched from that to well, we have one of the colliders here. I can't remember what the name of it is though. Um, but in science, they're trying to they're doing something with the collider. I can't remember what the hell they do, black hole or something. But that and to defense industry, like science wise, not like actually building things, but every time you go to the airport and you go through a TSA checkpoint, those scanners and that you see, the ones that do like the sniffing of the air, around you, they burst the air, and when you go in that chamber, or you go through the metal detectors, a lot of those things were developed here, initially, and then manufactured elsewhere. But the science behind it came from here. Still remember the sonic booms when you were a child? My husband works in nuclear. Does he? That's cool, Pippadot. So thankful. We bought land in the county. We're out in Washington State. Where we're out in Washington State too. We're north of Spokane. So north of Spokane. So are you up by Deer Park area, up that way? I have property across the state line in Idaho. We have 117 acres up there in Rathdrum. But yeah, we live down in eastern Washington where there's not a whole hell of a lot of anything except for meth, hydroplanes, and sagebrush. Gayla, you worked at a nuclear power plant? Well, that's cool. Well, that's two. Oh, Chatteroy. It's a pretty area. And my wife is an HP health technician out there. 24 years she worked for our local hospital, and they told her the beginning of the 24th year, you will never get another raise ever as long as you work here. You will never get more than the cost of living increase, and that's it. And that is all based on the cost of living here, and you will get a percentage base only. 24 years. Could you imagine working for someone for 24 years and they tell you something like that? You're at the top of the pay scale that we will ever pay. So she left, and rightfully so. And now she gets paid more. She is more respected. Her degrees are actually being used, and she likes the people that she's working with. Why are you in Idaho? It's gorgeous there. Why am I not there? Well, first off, work. Not a whole lot of employment in that area. You have to travel over into Spokane or go, I guess you could work, in like Silverwood, theme park or something, but um, work. The other thing is that we inherited the property, and there's not a whole heck of a lot there except for the houses. There's one outbuilding that's got residential and commercial attachment. Really nice building, but we're not sure what we're going to do with it. And it's kind of like some of the members of the family inherited houses and property on there. Others just inherited property, and we don't know what we're going to do. And it's been about 4 years now since we inherited it all. And we go up there as much as we can. Whenever we travel up to Spokane, and we're in Spokane. We'll make a jaunt over to the property. We have somebody who's living there on the property. If she's the former wife of my mother-in-law's brother. So whatever the hell that is, she's the former wife. But she lives there and takes care of the property for the most part, making sure people stay the hell away from it. I'm glad she did too. She's much, much happier now. He worked for Purelite Resin Division for Ecolab. We have Ecolab here. Sell a few of those acres and use the money to build a house. Well, yeah, we thought about it. We definitely have vintage art. Thought about either selling it all, and then everybody just cashes out and get rid of it. But we inherited the property and all the houses and everything, and the commercial residential. We inherited it all from my mother-in-law's. That was her parents' property, and in the trust they gave houses to certain people and land to certain people, but we would have to get everybody together to sell it. Um, if we could section it off and subdivide it out, but the way things are going up there, and getting water rights, and everything else, it's like gonna take some time, and that's why we've in the 4 years since we've had it, we haven't done a whole heck of a lot with it. If nothing else, it's a great place to go when you're in the Spokane area, going up for a concert or going shopping or something. Just stay there. You can go from there to the state line or into Spokane. You both used to work for Siemens. I don't know if Siemens is still in this area. They used to be. But a lot of the companies that are here, Pipodot, that were once here are no longer here. But the jobs are still there. It's just government contractors. They turn over like so much in this area. And when we first moved here, Rockwell International, well, it used to be one of the biggest employers. Had the most contracts. Then it became Patel. Then U.S. Testing. And now a lot of those bigger companies, contractors are gone. They've subdivided up, or sold off the contracts to others. So they come and go. It is not uncommon in this area to watch 10, maybe 15,000 people, per year leave, and then maybe 5 to 10,000 new people move into the area. It's not uncommon at all, and you'll watch large swaths of the area just pick up and gone, and all of a sudden new ones come in. Like I said, the jobs will be here for a couple 100 years, if that, if not even that short of amount of time. It might take a lifetime plus, more than 200 years. They don't know, because it wasn't like when they buried a lot of this shit and they got rid of it. They knew what they were. They didn't draw a map and say, "Oh, over there by that hill, yeah, that's where we buried this shit." And then there are, and I'm not giving up any government secrets here, but there are former Minuteman silos that are all over the dam area, is what they call it, that Hanford area. And those things are just another pile of like, what the hell do you do with them? Yeah, you can mothball them, close them up, weld the lids shut so they can't be open anymore, but they're contaminated. You can't just push dirt into them and say, never seen it before. Sounds like California investors' dream. I used to be a buyer's agent, and yes, list your land in other places like California, New York, etc. You'd be surprised how many people are interested. Oh, I know if Vintage Art, if we were to sell our place, the neighbor next door across the state highway, that's a state highway, but it's only 2 lanes. He would be the first one to jump on it. He wants that because there's rumors that the state highway is going to go and expand from 2 lanes to 4 lanes with a turn lane in it, because and as the proper people, you can't buy anything in Coeur d'Alene, and people in upstate from like McCall, Idaho, and everything else, they're encroaching on each other, and people want land that is outside of town. And as things are, and then Spokane and all those other areas are growing, and more industry comes to that area, the land becomes more and more valuable as it goes along. I mean, when they first moved there, back in the 50s, I think it was, you couldn't give that land away. But, they had to bring in all their own services. There wasn't nobody you called and said, hey, I'd like to flip the switch, turn the electricity on here. There was no electricity, but there is now to the entire property, to all the houses and the commercial, building. Yeah, but there's a lot of interest in the property. We just don't know what we want to do with it. There's a lot of sentimental value to it. What everybody has, and what they have. Like my daughter inherited the house that her grandparents lived in there on the land. She don't want to get rid of it, but then again, she don't want to move there either because there's nothing for her there, around. And that's a generational thing. They don't want to. At least the ones that I know that are in the 20 somethings, they don't drive as much. They don't do the things like I did when I was younger. They would rather Uber, Lyft, DoorDash their food, and their groceries. It's like, why go to the store when I can have it all delivered right to me, or have somebody pick me up and take me there? I don't need to drive. She can drive. She just doesn't want to. We have realtors and investors contacting me daily wanting to buy our house. Our old house, Gala, that we had in town, was just a tiny little, I think it was 1,160 square feet. Yeah, it's a tiny little house, okay? It was just a 2-bedroom house, 2-bedroom, 1 bath. We bought that place. My daughter was in elementary school. That's the only reason why we bought it, because it had to be in the district where she was going to school, because we had moved and then they closed the borders and they said, your daughter can't go here anymore. So she had gone there from kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, and 4th grade. When she was in 4th grade, they said, you can't be in this district anymore because you don't live in the boundaries. So we sold our other house and then moved into the district in this 2-bedroom, house. And we bought the place for like 59,000. It was right in there. And when we sold it for 160. Now, so my daughter went through elementary and high school. So high school, 4 more years. So 6 years later, we've more than doubled our money in 6 years. That house now, you couldn't even tell that's the original house. They've added on to it. Where the side yard is now a whole nother addition. It's like they put 2 houses on the same property, but it's all one. It's tastefully done, but it's like, damn. Yeah, but we constantly had people, flippers, people, like, oh, I'll buy your house for cash right now. No inspection needed. But we had all those, and then we had the the investor, like we're just buying up houses in this area, but no, I don't care what you want. We never sold, and then when we finally, my daughter was done with high school, we wanted something that had more room. I wanted someplace that had a studio space. Now, this is not the first studio I've had here. The first one I had was in the actual house itself in a spare bedroom. But that kind of bothered, people that I was always recording, at all hours of the day and night. So I moved it eventually, and to where it is right now. But we wanted someplace with more space, and we're only three people: my wife, my myself, and my daughter. When and my son being number four, but he was just a baby, when we moved here. And we filled up the place pretty quick. You give us empty space, we will fill it up, and we have filled this place. There isn't an empty room in this house, but that's just the way we are. Got a letter saying that they wanted to offer us $13,900 cash for our property. And I was like, why don't they just ring the doorbell and slap us and leave without saying anything? They probably want yours for a weed grow house. They might. I know some people who've had rental properties that have had that happen to them. They definitely did. They went in after they evicted the tenant, and they went in. They found one wall had like 14 electrical outlets on it. That obviously wasn't done to code, but they had put electrical outlets that were all like right in the middle down one wall, like 14 electrical outlets. Obviously, it was a grow operation in the house. We own 2 lots, almost 3 acres. Well, that's cool. When we lived in Vegas, we bought a house for $103,000 in 1999 and sold it for $205,000 in 2004. Foreclosed crisis hit in 2008. Houses were valued at $80,000. Crazy. Now it's valued at $300,000. So stupid. Yeah. That housing crisis really messed up a lot of people. We keep on saying the same thing, Gala, every year. We got to have a yard sale. Get rid of some of this stuff. Oh boy! And the worst thing is, we become the storage for other people. Like a friend of ours moved to Alaska, and we still have his stuff in our basement. We have another friend who, was getting divorced, and she had a bunch of like china and knickknacks and and stuff like that. They're all boxed up, but she wanted someplace to put it, so she's like, only for about 6 months. Just can I put them in your basement? I don't want to pay for a storage unit. Her shit's still here. We become this. It's like we have all this space, and everybody's like, hey, who has space to store this stuff? This is called Will and Crystal. Well, we're terrible at it. We're getting rid of stuff. Next to our front door, we have 5 cardboard boxes that are empty. And well, they're not empty. But as I've been going through my son's clothes, because the boy refuses to stop growing. Oh my God. It's like those pants fit him yesterday. Now they're high water pants on him. He wore them just the other day, I swear. And then I do the laundry and I go put them on. I'm like, what in the heck? You grew another inch, kid. But then shirts and everything else that don't fit them anymore. As I do the laundry, I throw them into the boxes. It's the only way it's ever going to get out of this house. Otherwise, end up in his bedroom on a shelf or something. It's exhausting to even think about it. Yeah. Do a giant clearance sale. Yeah, Pippa. Learn to say no. Gayla, I have no problem saying no. It's my wife who has the problem with saying no. So, clearance sale. Gee, Pippa, They Goodwill used to come and do door to door collections for larger items. If you had like a couch or something that you need to get rid of, they'd come and get it. But our local Goodwills don't even take couches anymore, and they also won't take televisions. Doesn't matter what kind of television it is, flat screen, projector screen TV, old console TVs. They won't take any of that stuff anymore. They just don't have the room for it anymore, and that's why. It's not because they can't resell it. They just don't have the room anymore. Just call the donation truck. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That we used to have it, but they don't have them anymore for larger appliances and stuff like that anymore here. You have to bring it to them. Start charging storage fees, huh? You and Crystal Storage Shed. 99 cents for the first month, $29.99 a month thereafter. I just went through my kids' clothes and gave my oldest daughter, best friend, 7 bags of clothes for her girls. That's an idea. The only problem is you know, um, we had our son so late in life. Most of our friends, if not all of them, all of their kids are all my daughter's age. They're in their mid 20s, and I've got an 8-year-old. So we have a 25-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son. And what do we do with the 8-year-old's clothes? We don't know anybody who has an 8-year-old boy. We do know a couple who they're on their second or third marriage or whatever, but they have younger kids, but they don't have boys, they have girls. My area still has the free pickup donation guy. I'll bake them some snickerdoodles. Damn it. I gotta go to California and be a pickup, stuff for donations, get snickerdoodles. That is really nice of you to do that, though. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I need to take off. I want to thank everyone for being here this morning for the page 2 news in chat. I appreciate it. Again, hope you're able to stop in tomorrow for trivia night. We do it every Sunday. And tomorrow, again, it's at 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 5 o'clock in Mountain Time, and 7 o'clock on the East Coast. If you're able to, I hope you are. That's what we're doing trivia tomorrow. Multiple choice, 20 questions, all displayed on screen if you're new here. But tomorrow night. In the meantime, if I don't see you, I hope you all have a terrific weekend. And the week ahead is just as wonderful. And I hope you're able to stay warm because it's definitely cold out there. But thank you again, everyone. If you have any blanket comforters, towels, etc., donate them to the Humane Society. They're always in need of things like that for the animals. That is true, Vintage Art. Very true. And thank you for putting that on there. Me and my wife used to volunteer for our local ASPCA, taking care of cats, and we always needed towels for the cats. You never have enough. But thank you, everyone. You all have a great day and a great week ahead. Bye.